A security camera does not panic. It does not know the person outside is not supposed to be there. It does not know the difference between a neighbor walking home late and someone testing a door in the dark. It only records motion. A figure steps into the porch light. Another one keeps their face hidden. Someone reaches for a door. Someone looks directly into the lens. Someone does not just notice the camera. They go after it. For the people inside these homes, the footage was not entertainment. It was a warning, a record, and sometimes the only clear look at what happened before police arrived. In this episode, every segment is built around moving security camera footage published by news outlets or source owner channels. No compilation clips used as raw footage. No guessing dressed up as fact. If a report says suspected, we say suspected. If a clip only shows part of the story, we do not pretend it shows the whole thing. This is After Dark Dispatch. And these are 7 midnight intruders caught on security cameras. Before we start, one rule matters. Security footage can show what happened in front of the lens. It cannot always show intent, identity, or what would have happened next. So tonight, the camera is the witness. The narration stays with what the sources support. The first case is the reason this format works better when the footage moves. It was published by ABC News under the title Home Invasion Caught on 16 Surveillance Cameras. Not one camera, 16. That changes the feeling of the story. Instead of one frozen angle, the incident unfolds from different points around the home. A camera catches one approach, another angle picks up the next movement, then another view fills in what the last one could not show. It gives the footage a horrible kind of geography. You are not only watching a person at a door. You are watching how quickly a private space can stop feeling private once someone crosses the first boundary. For this segment, we are not naming the family, repeating exact location details, or treating every frame as something the public needs to inspect. The point is the pattern the cameras captured. The footage shows why multi-camera systems can matter. One camera may miss the face, another may miss the entry point, a third may catch the direction of travel, a fourth may show the moment after the first camera loses sight. And when the report describes it as a home invasion, the camera network becomes more than a device. It becomes the record of a timeline. What happened first? Where the intruder moved? What was visible? What was not? That is also why the edit has to keep moving here. The story is not one image. It is a chain of views. Each cut tells you that the house had another angle, and then another, and then another. That is what makes the clip disturbing. The camera was not catching something strange in the distance. It was watching the boundary of a home fail in real time. The second case has a different kind of tension. This one was published by 11 Alive under the title Burglars Startled When Resident Calls from Indoor Home Security Camera. That title tells you the turn before the footage even starts. Someone is inside the camera feed. Someone else is not physically there, but they are watching. And then the camera stops being silent. Modern security systems do not only record. Some let the owner speak through the device. In most everyday uses, that means telling a delivery driver where to leave a package, or checking on a pet, or asking a neighbor to move a car. In this footage, according to the report title, the voice through the camera startles the burglars. That is the part that changes the room. For a few seconds, the people in the footage may think they are alone. They may think the camera is only a passive object on a shelf or wall. Then a voice enters the space, and the room is suddenly occupied by someone who is not actually there. That is why this segment should cut quickly between the camera view, the movement in the room, and any safe source context. The fear is not only that people entered a property, it is the discovery that an empty room was not really empty. It was being watched. And then it answered back. We are not going to add details the available source map does not support. We are not going to name anyone beyond the source language. We are not going to show private interior details longer than the story requires. What the source supports is enough. A security camera captured people inside. A resident used the system to speak through it, and the people in the footage reacted. Sometimes the most disturbing moment is not when someone appears on camera. It is when they realize the camera is live. The third recording brings the story back to the front door. It was published by 23 ABC News KERO under the title Doorbell Camera Spots Armed Suspected Burglars at Front Door of Covina Home. The word suspected matters. We are not using the footage to convict someone from a thumbnail. We are using the source language, armed suspected burglars seen at the front door. And even with that careful wording, the frame is immediately tense. A front porch at night is a familiar image now. The fisheye view, the hard porch light, the little delay before the person gets close enough to become clear. Most of the time, that frame catches normal life. Packages, friends, a neighbor, someone at the wrong house. But in this report, the camera spots people described as armed suspected burglars at the door. That changes every part of the shot. The walkway becomes a countdown. The porch becomes a threshold. The hand near the door becomes the thing you watch. For the edit, this should not be stretched. It is a short, high-intensity segment. We use the strongest safe windows, repeat only as quick close callbacks, and leave before the footage turns into filler. The point is simple. The camera captured the moment before a possible entry. It gave the homeowner, police, and the public a record, and it shows why a doorbell camera can feel less like a convenience and more like a last quiet witness between the inside of a house and whatever has arrived outside. The fourth segment moves from one house to a neighborhood pattern. Fox 4. Dallas-Fort Worth published this story under the title, "Masked Prowler Caught on Camera Terrorizing Mesquite Neighborhood." That headline is strong, but the narration still needs to stay grounded. What matters for us is what the footage and report can support. A masked prowler was caught on camera. The report described concern in the neighborhood, and the camera views turned that concern into something visible. There is a particular unease to prowler footage because it often shows almost nothing at first. A yard, a driveway, a porch light. Then a figure enters the edge of the frame. Not loudly, not like a movie, just there. And because the person is masked, the ordinary questions become harder. Who is it? Why are they there? Are they passing through, looking for a target, testing cameras, checking vehicles, or trying doors? The camera may not answer every question, but it can show the behavior clearly enough that residents know something is happening. For this segment, the edit should lean into repeated movement, not repeated stillness. Different angles if available. Safe zooms only when they help the viewer understand motion. Short, lower third labels. No address details. No speculation about what the person would have done if they had not been recorded. The disturbing part is already in the report. A masked person moving through a neighborhood at night, caught by cameras that were not meant to tell a story, but ended up doing exactly that. By the fifth segment, the camera is no longer only a witness. It becomes the target. Local 12 published this story under the title, "Prowler Caught on Camera Damaging Surveillance Cameras." That is one of the clearest signs that the person in the frame knows they are being recorded. Some intruders ignore cameras. Some try to hide from them. Some look up, realize where the lens is, and leave. But when someone damages the camera, the footage takes on a different meaning. It is no longer just a record of suspicious movement. It is a record of someone trying to erase the record. That is why this clip belongs in the middle of the episode. It changes the role of the device. The camera captures the approach. It captures the moment the person notices or reaches for it. And if the footage cuts, shakes, tilts, or goes dark, that absence becomes part of the story. We have to be careful here not to overstate. Damaging a surveillance camera does not reveal every possible motive. It does not tell us what would have happened next. But it does show one thing clearly. The person in the footage did not want that camera to keep watching. For the edit, this is an action beat. Do not stretch it with stills. Let the movement carry it. Approach, recognition, contact, interruption, then move on. Because sometimes the last thing a security camera records is the moment someone decides the lens itself is the problem. The sixth case is not built around one dramatic door. It is built around repetition. KTXS News published it as, "Security Camera Captures Would-Be Intruder at Multiple Homes in Abilene Neighborhood." That phrase, multiple homes, is the part to watch. One camera can catch one strange moment. Multiple homes can reveal a pattern. A person appears at one property, then another. A door is approached. A driveway is crossed. A porch is checked. The same general behavior shows up again in another frame. That is how a neighborhood starts comparing footage. One resident posts a clip, another checks their own camera. Someone else realizes they saw the same figure from a different angle. Suddenly, the story is not "something happened at one house." It is "this was moving through the area." The report uses the phrase would-be intruder, and that is the wording we should keep. We do not need to invent a motive beyond it. What the security footage can show is movement from home to home. What the news report can add is community context. And what the edit should do is make that pattern understandable without turning it into a map lecture or a slideshow. Use the moving clips. Use short labels. If there are multiple camera angles, cut between them quickly. If a clip shows a private address, crop it or reject that window. The fear in this segment is not one loud moment. It is the quiet realization that the camera on your house may not be the only one recording the same person. The final segment comes from Reolink's own channel, under the title Reolink Captures Neighborhood Prowler. This one needs a clear label because it is not a local news package in the same way as the earlier segments. It is a source owner or source-adjacent clip published by a security camera company, reportedly submitted through its capture ecosystem. That does not make it fake. It just means the context is different and the viewer should know that. The value of this segment is the raw security camera feeling. A fixed angle, a quiet street or driveway, a person moving where they should not be moving, no dramatic music in the source, no narration from the camera, just a system doing what it was built to do. The reason this works as a closer is that it brings the episode back to the basic idea. Most security cameras are installed for ordinary reasons. A car in the driveway, a side gate, a porch, a backyard. The owner is not expecting the camera to become part of a larger story. They are expecting it to sit there quietly and record if anything moves. And then, one night, something does. For the edit, keep this moving. If the person in the footage is small in frame, use safe zooms and motion tracking, but do not fake details. If the clip has product branding, keep attribution clean and avoid sounding like an advertisement. This is not a product review. It is one more example of a camera catching a person in the wrong place at the wrong hour. And by the time you have seen 7 of these, the familiar security camera frame starts to feel different. Not because every shadow is dangerous, but because sometimes the shadow moves. The cameras in this episode do not explain everything. They do not always tell us who someone is. They do not always tell us what someone intended. And they do not turn suspicion into certainty. But they do change the night in one important way. They make a private moment visible. A porch light comes on. A lens catches movement. A resident checks a phone. A report gets filed. A neighborhood compares footage. And a few seconds that might have disappeared into darkness become something people can actually review. That is why the labels matter. Confirmed report, suspected burglar, prowler, source owner clip, camera attack. Each one means something different. The mystery is not the same thing as confirmation. But sometimes the recording is enough to change what happens next. If you want the next dispatch, subscribe. And the next time a security notification wakes you up after midnight, remember, the camera is not afraid. It is just already watching.